Books with Brandywine, and this episode we're going to be doing the Out of My Comfort Zone book tag. I saw this on Emmmabooks YouTube channel, and I really wanted to get to try it. I haven't actually done any book tags yet, so this is going to be my first one. So the first question that was up was a book that is an exception to genres or elements in books that you don't typically like. And the book that I chose is one that I actually just finished reading a couple days ago, and that is Stargirl. Stargirl. You can see the title. It doesn't actually have the title in the book, but you can see the cover. By Jerry Spinelli. And the reason I chose this book is because it has a bunch of things that I normally hate. I don't usually read books that take place in our real world. I'm very much into fantasy type books. And I especially don't read books that take place in high schools, because I do not like the high school drama. I will occasionally watch them on TV shows, but I really just don't like the high school drama. And reading about it is way less fun because it takes even longer. But I read this book and I absolutely loved it. I'm actually going to be doing a book review on it because I loved it so much. So look for that on Wednesday. But yeah, Stargirl definitely is my first pick. So the next one was a book that you enjoyed from a genre that you previously had a stigma about, and I chose Jane Eyre. The previous stigma that I had for the gothic genre was that it was boring and it was dark and it was depressing, and I just didn't want to have to read a book that is like that. I prefer to have books that are going to make me feel great afterwards and that are going to just pull me in and be super exciting, and I just thought gothic dramas were just way boring. But I read this book and I couldn't put it down, and I loved every minute of it. I probably won't read it again just because it's super thick, and I have a lot of other books that are ahead of it, but I loved this book, and I'm glad I finally got around to reading it instead of just avoiding it because I thought it would be super boring. The next category is a book that you didn't know was out of your comfort zone when you started reading it. And I actually don't have a book example for that, like a physical book to show you. But the book that came to my mind was A Casual Vacancy, which is under a pseudonym, but it's written by J.K. Rowling. And I read it when it first came out, or at least read some of it, when it was super, super popular and everyone was going crazy over it. I think I only made it a couple chapters in. The thing that it falls into the category of is I avoid any books that have tons and tons of cursing in them. I hate listening to people curse in real life. I don't think it needs to be in people's speech. They're just filler words that I don't see any point that they actually serve. And reading a book that had a character that all he does is curse was just too much for me. And I didn't know it was going to be like that or fall into that category when I first started reading it. So I actually only made it a chapter or two into the book, and then I gave up on the book and I passed it on to another person. I think I donated it to a library or something. But that book was definitely a surprise because I was not expecting that. I do understand it's like a mystery or something, but I don't usually read detective mysteries. But I was curious to try it for that one, but I could not handle the curse. So the next category was pick a friend or a YouTuber that encourages you to read books that are not normally in your comfort zone, and what book have they suggested to you. So the friend that I immediately thought of is actually a customer that I have where I work, and every time he comes in to get food, he always has a book under his arm, and I always ask him what book he has. And one day he came in and he was reading from this series, which is the Codex Alera series, and the first book is The Furies of Calderon. Pretty much all the titles have Furies in them. And this book is really, really awesome. He described it to me as being a mix between Roman Legion meets Pokemon. And normally I would completely avoid Jim Butcher. He's a great author, but I read a little bit of one of his books from, blanking on the name of the series, but where it's the Wizard Detective guy. And which is weird because I love fantasy, but I avoid books that have like demons or black magic or dark magic or anything that's too hardcore, I guess you could say, for me. And I felt like that series was really a lot about that. So I've been completely avoiding Jim Butcher. But he really, really suggested this series, and I was like, all right, fine, I'll give it a chance. He seemed to really love it, and he really was like really, really outgoing when he told me about the series. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I read the series. There's 6 books. I could not put it down. I loved it. And I never thought I would enjoy a Jim Butcher book. And in fact, after I read it, I had trouble getting into another series because Jim Butcher was so awesome that I kept comparing them. which is, I love it when I find an author that does that, because that means the author's even better. And I really love this series. I've been looking at some of the other books that he suggests, because he always suggests things that I wouldn't normally read, but he has a great opinion on books. The next section is a book that is out of your comfort zone that you really want to read. And for me, that was Solo, which I actually just bought yesterday. But I'm really excited to read this book. Normally, so I'll read books that are being turned into movies, but I never read books that are novelizations of movies. And I don't think I have a particular reason. I don't know, being a snob about it or something. I just think that they're not as good. And if it's a movie and I've seen the movie, then why do I need to read a novelization that's just going to be the exact same thing as the movie? But I saw this at the bookstore, and it said it was the extended edition and extra scenes. And I am like huge Star Wars fan. Like, my life besides books is all about Star Wars. And so to have a book that from a movie that I loved of theirs, and to be able to get to find extra scenes that weren't in the movie and get to build more on that movie, I'm actually really excited about that. Because that is one of the things that I love about books that you read that are being turned into movies, is you read the book, and the book's better, of course, and you find out all the extra details that are in the book that aren't in the movie. And I'm really hoping that this book is going to be like that, even though I don't usually go that opposite direction. And the next question was question number 6, and it was a book or genre that is so far out of your comfort zone that you will never give it another chance. And for me, that entire genre is romance novels. I did used to read them. I probably read them for like a year or two of my life, and I love them. A lot of them have really great storylines. Some of my favorite storylines, that if I could find the romance novels without all of the sex in them, then I would definitely reread those novels. But where I am in my life and where I see myself going for the rest of my life is I don't want to read anything that I would consider inappropriate, or that has scenes in it that I don't want to have popping up in my mind. So I will never be reading romance novels again. That's not saying that I won't read books that have romance in them. Plenty of fantasy books have romance in them, but I will not be reading specifically romance novels. And then the very last question, she said that we had to make up our own question. I was trying to think what to make up, because she pretty much covered everything that's out of your comfort zone. So my 7th question is going to be a genre that you would recommend that other people give a try, and an example of a book from that genre. And for me, that genre is biographies. I do not normally read biographies. In fact, the first biography that I read was just a month or so ago, and that was this book, A Life in Parts by Bryan Cranston. And it is his autobiography memoir. And normally, I don't know, I guess I'm not that interested in people's, real lives. I'll watch them in special features, and I'll watch documentaries about them, but reading about them just never really interested me. But I kept seeing this in interviews on TV, and it looked really interesting, so I picked it up. And it's definitely gotten me interested in the biography genre. I think it's definitely something that I'm going to be delving into more and looking for more biographies to add to my book list, so that I can find out more about people, because this was so interesting and so funny and so original, and I loved it. And so it's given biographies a second chance for me. So that's it. That's the book tag. Go ahead and do the book tag as well. Go check out Emmmabooks' YouTube page so that you can see what the original video was about and get all of those questions, and so that you can do the book tag as well. It was really fun doing this. It really made me think, what kind of books are out of my comfort zone. It's not something that I really think about, especially since I am trying to, branch out my books that I read. So I've been just grabbing from, every genre lately. So trying to think which one really was out of my comfort zone. It was fun. I liked it. I liked the challenge. So I hope to see you guys again. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel and like this video as always. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thank you. Goodbye.